92 WICB, it's your boy Breezy. I'm joined live on the line right now with Lloyd Banks. What's going on, Banks?
What's up, brother?
Not much. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man.
No problem. You got
3 years since my last album, so I'm geared up, man. We all ready for war this time.
That's right. November 22nd is the release date. How does it feel to be releasing your third album?
Oh, man. Well, it's a little added significance, because it's not just my third album. It's my third album, but it's the continuation from my first album. So, this is Hunger for More Part 2. A lot of people don't know, but I've been in the independent space, for the last couple of years. So it'll be a little more sweet, to have a successful album this time out, just because I was counted out, basically. And, coming off the gold independent single Beamer Benz and Bentley, which opened up the momentum for me to have this album. It's more than just for me this time. This is a message for the whole industry and anybody who might have been in a situation similar to mine. I want to change the stigma that, independent means on your way out, because I'm 28 now with opportunity that doesn't usually come around for artists until their late 30s.
So since that time, it's a continuation of the first Hunger for More, and you released Ron Apple, then you have numerous mixtapes, 2 G-Unit albums. What has kept you hungry when it comes to music these last couple years?
Well, I think earlier on in my career, my influences were everybody that did good, everybody that was, established and things like that. But, once you get into the game, who I am as a person and as an artist, I really didn't want too much of the fame or, I don't care to be number one and all those kind of things. I just want to be respected, by the elite. I want to be on the wall with the greats. And what fuels me now is the negatives, So throughout the whole time in the recording process, I would use the internet as my tool. I would go to the sites and, the responses to the records would be mixed views and, some people not liking it, some people liking it. So my goal was to make everybody that wasn't a believer and turn them into a supporter. So that was my fuel, and at the end of the day, I felt like I was being blackballed and, trying to be pushed out of the industry due to the amount of success we had in such a short period of time. So with all that being said, I definitely had a grudge, a chip on my shoulder. So every studio session was kind of like, it was a little more passion involved this time.
Right. This month's XXL magazine, you talked about how the first Hunger for More is considered a classic album because of what it did for New York hip-hop, and you being one of the only New York rappers recently to go platinum. So now that technology plays a large role in the music and more New York rappers are starting to emerge, do you think that this Hunger for More is going to have the same impact as the first Hunger for More?
Honestly, I think it's going to have a bigger impact because, I felt like it was unnecessary hate to begin with. Like, I never really heard anybody say that Lloyd Banks was whack, musically. I think that somewhere down the line, the success we had as an entity, and, 50 had made so many deals happen in such a short amount of time that I think the business, it overshadowed the talent, and people started to, question whether we're still hungry. I think people felt like I was going to be well off, because of 50 Cent's success, that we won't ever have to do good as far as music goes. But, I mean, that might be the case, but at the end of the day, where we come from, we're taught to go get our own, and it feels much better, what I'm saying, when you go out there and fend for yourself. So, a big part, in the resistance for my second album. But going into the third album, I think it's a little different now because you got, the economy is a little different, and artists that would have sold, somebody like Drake, he sold like 400,000 and change. He might have sold 800,000 in 2004.
Right.
So everybody's taking a hit. So you just got to find different ways to critique, and judge your artist as far as success goes. You got to use the album. You got to use his stage presence. Overall impact on the street. Take all those things, his internet presence, and then collectively come up with your decision. Because you can't really just base it off record sales because nobody's really selling records to the amount that they did 5-6 years ago.
92 WICB, it's your boy Breezy. I'm joined live on the line right now with Lloyd Banks. Going back to this new album, when you first started working on the album, what was your initial vision for the album, and how has it changed now that recently you've been able to work with a variety of artists like Akon, Kanye West, and maybe features that you didn't expect to happen when you first started the project that ended up making the album?
I actually didn't name the album Hunger for More Part 2 until after Beamer Benz and Bentley was released. I didn't want to go. I didn't go into it feeling like an scapegoat. Like, let me, do a part 2.
Right.
I chose that title based off the energy I felt after my first single. Beamer Benz and Bentley had an ignorance to it that made it, the hood favorite as well as, the favorite, all across the panel. But I haven't felt the energy like that since 2004. So I was like, you know what? It's not too often you see an artist reinvent themselves, let alone match the energy he had when he first came out. So that being said, I was like, what better way to remind people than, to bring them back to the album that actually got my foot into the door.
Right.
And at the same time, it was like, it helped me because, I'm not comparing myself to any other album that's coming out. It was me comparing myself to what I considered a classic. So, I was my competition, and I think that grind, being that I was just thinking do it on my own, my peer definitely recognized that. You know what I'm saying? Kanye reached out, we was able to make that record happen as far as Started Up goes, and M reached in last, crunch time, last minute, and we got it done. So a lot of the moves came like towards the end of the project. So I went about it, just thinking if I had to do it on my own, and then, somewhere down the line,
right.
Fortunate enough for me, before the deadline, a lot of those power moves were made. But I was able to get like key features that I made this album in the event that if it was my last album, just because I was counted out 10, 11 months ago.
Right.
So I made this album as an artist and as a fan. So people might question the amount of features, but it was because, like, just 10 months ago, people didn't think I was going to have another album. So I'm like, I wanted to create this one as if it would be my last. So I reached out to Raekwon. He definitely executed. I got Styles P on the record.
Jeremiah.
Pusha T, Akon. I got a joint with Akon, Ryan Leslie, Jeremiah, Eminem, of course. It's pretty wrapped up, man. I really wanted to have an album full of lyricists this time.
Right. And you actually documented it the whole way. On November 24th, you're releasing the documentary via Ustream. Can you tell us a little bit about the project?
Yeah, well... Yeah, every studio session has been recorded. So they got footage of me and Fabulous in the studio, footage of me and Ryan Leslie, footage of me and Akon, me and Lloyd, me and Joel Santana, so Jeremiah, pretty much everybody that's on the album,
Right.
Swiss Beat. I wanted to just bring people through the recording process. I wanted to, after they enjoy the record, I wanted them to be able to see how it was formatted, what my train of thought was, and also be able to capture the chemistry between artists, because it was kind of like, it's a first time thing for me. It's the first time that I ever been in the studio with, producers and with artists, and not because I didn't want to, but, when you're in the middle of a tour, my first album was recorded on the tour bus.
Right.
So it was hard to get in there with artists and things like that. I think it was important, for people to see, and then they get a better idea of who I am and see character and performances, and we're still, shooting to this day. And the beautiful thing about the internet is that we can edit up to the last moment, so we're still adding things in as we go now. So it's like, even though it's the road to H.F.M. 2, it's still going to be the road after, and all the way up until the day it comes out. So we're never going to start filming, and there hasn't been that much content out, on my part. So I think it's definitely time. What better time than now?
Definitely. With such a strong buzz. Definitely. Lloyd Banks, congratulations on everything. Thank you for your time, for calling in. I know you're very busy. Appreciate that. And good luck with everything.
Thank you, brother.